we're going to start the meeting. Good evening. It is now 6:16 p.m. and the March 6, 2024 City Council meeting will now come to order. Tonight's invocation is presented by the late but here, Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. For those of you that would like to bow your head, please do so now. Good evening, Heavenly Father. Father, we come to you this evening and we ask for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us, Father, to engage in meaningful discussion and help us all, Father, to grow closer to our community. Father, may all our decisions be righteous in your sight for our benefit and your glory. Father, please be with our law enforcement and all our first responders and keep them safe from harm as they serve our city. Father, our citizens, our staff, our mayor, and our council members are often tasked with making decisions for our wonderful city. And Father, you have blessed us with free will to make those decisions. I pray that we all remember that our important decisions always seem to work out best when we go to you first, Father, to pray for direction. Father, you know that in several days our city will be voting on some key issues that may impact our city for many years to come. I pray, Father, that we all take the necessary time to understand the issues at hand prior to casting our votes. Continue, Father, to remind us that all we do here this evening, all that we may accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, Father. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen. Now will everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Rose, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard.
Present.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here,
Councilmember Shaw Elliott.
Present.
Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Riefler.
Here.
City Attorney Randy Mora.
Present.
Thank you, Renee. I appreciate it. You guys over there on the floor, we've got open seats. So at the next meeting, why don't you come up and join us, okay? Like it used to be. All right, our first order of business is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
second.
I'm going to give that one to Mr. Roberts. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Now we move on to citizens' comments. If any citizen would like to address the council about a topic not already on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be called on. We ask that you limit your time to no more than 3 minutes, and remember to direct all questions and comments directly to the council. If any council members would like to respond to citizens' comments, please hold your responses until we reach council comments. If the city manager or city attorney would like to address citizens' comments, please hold your responses until your designated report time. Would any citizens like to address the council about any topic not already on the agenda? Yes, sir. Please come up, state your name and address, and
How you doing? Randy Levitz, 103 13th Street. Just to let you know, an incident from Saturday night, we had a little dinner get-together for my son-in-law's mother's birthday. And one of the guests, 85-year-old fellow named Rick Castell from Dunedin, he couldn't make it until about 8 o'clock. Anyhow, when he left, he found he had a $55 ticket for parking on the street from an officer, I think his name is I. Reedy. Anyhow, I know the sheriffs just do what they got to do, and that's all fine and going good. But my issue is for the council. He came in off the bridge. He turned on Gulf Boulevard. He made the right on 12th and looped around the horseshoe to get to my house. Okay? When you turn onto 12th, probably about 50 feet up, right past the first driveway on the right-hand side, you've got a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign and a no parking anytime on the street sign, okay? The speed limit signs are 24 inches high by 18 wide. The little sign that says no parking on the street is 12 inches wide by 18 inches high. okay? It's very, at night, an 85-year-old, I mean, I know not to park there, somebody comes from out of town, you're not gonna see it. You make the turn, and you're looking ahead, and you can't read the little letters on it. On my street, if you would have turned on 13th Avenue, 13th Street, here's that same sign that's 18 by 24, the speed limit. The no parking sign's 24 wide by 30 high, okay? So if you look, the other signs on the corner of 12th, that's out on Gulf Boulevard, the neighborhood watch sign's 24 by 30. Go up ahead to where the crosswalk is, between 12th and 13th, there's a don't block the intersection, that's 24 by 30. I just think it's stinky that the guy got a ticket for missing a sign that's basically 12 by 18 with little letters. You know, it's just, I think the sign should be uniform in size. You know, that's the only thing I got to say. It's very easy. If you drive up 12th, you'll see it's a little sign that's below. And these two speed limit signs, the way I took them, but they're the same size. Okay, the speed limit signs are the same size, and you can see how narrow this 12th Street no parking sign is compared to the one on 13th. 13th is like all the other standard signs that don't block the intersection, neighborhood watch, and all that, but you put a little tiny one in there, and I feel bad for the 85-year-old guy who had to pay a $55 ticket because of some little sign that as soon as you make the turn at 8 o'clock at night, you know, you're not going to be able to read the little letters. But that's it.
Thank you for your comments. Would any other citizens like to speak? All right, citizen comments are now closed. We're on to item 3, which is a presentation. On January 22nd, a man on a surf ski capsized in rough waters at the 6th Street access. A strong undercurrent prevented the man from getting back on his vessel while he was also being pulled further out to sea. Fortunately, 2 brave men came to his aid and helped him back to the shore. One of those men is here this evening. Chief Jeffrey Davidson, would you please join me at the podium? All right, Chief Jeffrey Davidson, in recognition of your courageousness and life-saving actions on January 18th, 2024, the city of Bel Air Beach thanks you for your selfless act of valor. Thank you for your service. I already did. You could be. Oh, speaking of the fire chief, we're on to item number 4, which is a presentation from the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and community. Jeffrey Davidson, Fire Chief, Pinellas Suncoast. I wanted to give you the monthly report for the month of February. In the month of February, there were to Bel Air Beach, there was 15 calls for fire and emergency medical services into Bel Air Beach. The district is moving forward. We've talked about the purchase of the land on the northern end of Indian Rocks Beach to better serve Bel Air Beach. That property is only 1.2 miles from this location, and it's going to greatly improve our response times. And the current plans are to house an advanced life support fire suppression engine there on the northern end with 3 firefighter paramedics. In the meantime, we have obtained a transport cable rescue unit from the county to be utilized when staffing permits over the next year. We are in the process of purchasing a new rescue unit with a written agreement from the county forthcoming. And we're also working with the county to get that unit funded with 2 paramedics over the next 2 years. Then it'll be here permanent and full-time. We are also getting ready to award a contract to build our fire station and emergency operations center on the mainland with anticipated completion date of August of 2025. And that building is going to replace the 58-year-old fire station and serve as our emergency operations center. Kyle has an open invitation to stay at the EOC during hurricanes and major events, so he can stay closer to Bel Air Beach. A jet ski with a rescue sled has also been purchased. It was funded by a very generous donation to the district. And as you know, Pinellas Suncos, we're the busiest marine rescue program in the county. And the additional units can assure that rapid access to get to victims in the water. We're in the process of outfitting it and training with it, all of our members right now. And it's anticipated that unit will be in service around April. In January, the fire department participated in the causeway cleanup efforts, and we would like to participate in all the future events. We're currently in the planning stages of the Hurricane Expo with the City of Bel Air Beach, with the dates to be determined. And our firefighters and paramedics completed 860 hours of fire and EMS training during the month of February. That's all.
Thank you, Chief. Council, any questions or comments for the fire chief? Yes.
Congratulations, Chief, and thank you again for your wonderful service. I
Thank
do have a question. What is a transport capable rescue unit?
Okay. That is an ambulance that's capable to transport to the hospital. The way the system works here in Pinellas County is that all the fire departments, every unit is an advanced life support unit, and we work off a first responder system. So we're the first people to get to the emergency, the first firefighters and paramedics. All of our personnel are either paramedics or emergency medical technicians. And having the quicker response sign in the ambulance company, we are called the first responders. The transport to the hospital is done by a private company currently. And there are times and certain criteria where the fire department can transport to the hospital. If it's a life-threatening and the ambulance is a certain distance away, they haven't gotten there yet, for example, then we can transport that patient, get into a trauma center, get into the emergency room faster. But currently, we don't have that capability. So we have to wait on an ambulance. So this is something we've been working as a team with the county EMS administration. And we have a 2-year plan that we're getting towards the end of to have that be a permanent unit. So in the event that we arrive on scene of a critical call that we need to get that patient to the hospital right away and the ambulance is not quite yet there, then the fire department can transport with the medical director's permission. Well, that's much better service to the citizens.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Yes.
Yeah, quick question on the second bullet, Chief. Is the purchase of that land, is there already a facility building there, or are we going to have to build one?
So, no, there's not a facility there. It's a portion of land that belongs to a business that we're going to purchase just part of their property and build on. But with the contractor that we are entering an agreement with to build our mainland, they did a bid for that station as well. So we'll be able to move forward with that one pretty quickly.
Perfect, thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I have just one question. Moving the firehouse to the new location.
Yes, sir.
What will that do to response time for us? How many minutes will it save?
Oh, many minutes. So the average response time to Bel Air Beach, providing that they're in quarters or in the area, will be 2 minutes. Yes, sir. And that's what, we try, the county standard is 7.5 minutes. And we try to get our units on scene in 4 minutes whenever possible. It's not always possible, especially with the Gulf traffic. But that has been the challenge for many years, is that the distance between our station in Rocks Beach and the next closest station is almost 6 miles. So we've been working on this project for years, and it's finally kind of come to fruition. But in the meantime, we'll be able to staff that rescue unit. They call it an episodic unit. So whenever we have the personnel, for example, spring break, we're going to hire back to make sure that that unit is staffed. We're going to give a Kyle to make sure our personnel can stage up here and be able to come in and use the facilities if they needed to. I owe you a phone call. But that's going to definitely provide a much better service to this area, because our station 27 in University is very busy. The station in Clearwater, which is our automatic gate partners, and the station over the bridge in Largo, we all work together. It's quite a long response time, especially if they're not coming from their station and you're getting a unit from the next closest station. So we wanted to always provide the best response times. That's the plan we've been working on for many years now.
You've been working on this project for a long time, and
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you not giving up and staying on course. We all realize that you're doing it for us. So,
Thank you. We'll let you know that as it moves along, and of course we want to have you come to any ceremonies that we have with that, and we look forward to getting that unit into service as quick as possible.
Absolutely looking forward to it.
All right.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we are up to item number 5. This is a presentation from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, beginning with the monthly law enforcement report.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Councilman. So as far as the Sheriff's Office report for Bel Air Beach, the monthly stats are consistent with December. There were no property or personal
Stop
crimes.
for 1 second. Can you announce your name?
I'm sorry, I'm Corporal Dearman with the Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
So again, the statistics for January, there were no property crimes, no burglaries, no thefts, no motor vehicle thefts or anything like that reported. On top of that, there were 2 people arrested within the city, both being misdemeanors for driver's licenses and 1 for a violation of probation. After that, our deputies have been really keeping up with the directed patrols that have been requested by the city and the citizens. So between the directed patrols, traffic stops are up to, we had 118 traffic stops last month, which is really helping to keep some of the speeding and other traffic violation enforcements down, more so for the pedestrian safety and stuff like that too, especially as we get closer into the spring break and summer months. Beyond that, everything is pretty consistent, again, with the month prior. Minimal ordinance violations, the vehicle illegally parked and stuff like that. We actually only had 26 last month for any illegal parking citations or warnings. There were only two traffic crashes actually in January, and both of those basically had no outside influence and were just accidents. Nothing that appears to identify any problems, congested areas, roadway deficiencies, or signage. That's all.
Any questions or comments for Corporal? Yes, sir, Mr. Becker.
Not sure if you heard the citizen remarks about the parking on the street violation.
Yes, sir.
I know FDOT has a million different requirements for like signs, and he pointed out the 25 mile. I know a speed limit sign has to be a certain standard sign
Yes.
or size. Doesn't a parking sign have to have the same typical in the neighborhood?
So, yes, any and all roadway signage, including for pedestrians and sidewalks and stuff like that, do have a federal or a Florida Department of Transportation regulation. So they have to be a regulatory size in order to be enforceable. A lot of times those sizes are based off of the speed limit in the area, the size of the roadway and stuff like that. And again, all of those, even from the Department of Transportation in Florida, conform to the standards of the National Highway Traffic Safety Association, which are consistent throughout the country.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the sign that he pointed out, according to the visitor, is very small lettering. I don't think it conforms with the other sign. I think that would be a good argument to have that ticket removed. I don't think it can be done at this level, but might be cool.
So yes, that can be directed towards the county highway. They're the ones that normally regulate, and
Would it be county or would it be our city?
so your city would ultimately be responsible for changing out that sign. And then normally it's facilitated through county highway. They're the ones that have the signs readily available, where they can be purchased from, and, you know, any of that.
Thank you.
But yes, no, if it is a Department of Transportation sign, which there'll be a sticker on the back of, then it does conform to the standards for that roadway. Nothing saying though that a larger one can't be put in place.
And if it doesn't have that sticker, it's not conformed?
Correct.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
I have a question about the enforcement of the flashing pedestrian signs,
Yes.
the lights. I recognize that if somebody pushes the button, takes a moment for a car to recognize that it's there, but it seems as though there's a lot of people just barreling straight through them. What is the enforcement process for those, and what has been your experience?
So actually, it's interesting you bring that up. Here just last month and the end of January and in February, I believe 2 times. This particular shift that we worked, we actually conducted traffic initiatives for the pedestrian crosswalks and the violations. And that's violations between pedestrians and motorists. So either people not pushing the button or waiting for the signage or just running across the road or just not even utilizing them at all. So we did do an initiative on that. I don't have the numbers with me. I can say that they were highly effective. We actually did that amongst all of the beach cities, from Bel Air Beach all the way south to Madeira Beach. Those actually seem to be quite fruitful. Most of it was general education that we were, you know, more so just informing and trying to remind people, please utilize these things. They're here for a reason. They really do make a difference in that safety. So we have been actively, just on our own accord, looking into that and trying to enforce it more, to have a little bit more visibility. A lot of times deputies now, especially during the night hours, are sitting there somewhere within the vicinity of these crosswalks in order to be able to see them, observe them, and be visible in that same area, hopefully just to provide a little bit more enforcement and guidance.
Very good, thank you.
I'm going to add to that. I'm hoping that they're also watching the pedestrians, because there is some personal responsibility. You don't slap the button as you're entering the street. There's been many times where I've had to lock them down, where people just are not paying attention or taking for granted that that light is going to automatically cause me to hit my brakes.
Yes, and that's the big thing when I say that we were equally enforcing it between any violations with pedestrians or motor vehicles. A lot of that being the situation where a pedestrian will just step out as you're describing and causing a motor vehicle to take an evasive action or, you know, some sort of defensive action, normally by hitting the brakes pretty hard. So, you know, with that, I do agree, you know, that is a major portion of it, and the education that I put out to the deputies that work for me and stuff along these beaches and during these initiatives was, you know, if we explain it more so to the citizens that regardless of right of way, if the light's flashing, you know, and you feel you can safely walk, it doesn't meet the laws of physics. So ultimately, who's going to win that battle when we're pushing through that? So even more so, just kind of a way of putting it in their minds.
Well, while we're talking about safety and saving lives, I've noticed that lately, more than I've ever seen, these fast motorcycles, they suddenly don't follow any rules, any laws whatsoever, and they're weaving between cars. I was coming home day before yesterday. Oh, no. It was Friday. I was coming home, and one of those little Japanese racers decided that he was going to pass all the cars entering Causeway Boulevard basically the shoulder of the bridge. And he was probably doing 60. I see it all the time, but what I don't see is them getting pulled over. Is it just bad timing? They know what they're looking for? What's going on in Pinellas County?
So, in general, just from my best understanding and my enforcement actions on it, it's interesting to say that just actually one of these statistics in here, I believe, for the driving license suspended was mine, in which there were 2 motorcycles that were going in towards Largo off of the beach. I clocked them at well over 100 miles an hour on the shoulder, passing a series of cars. The hard part with that is the speed of these motorcycles, their capability of maneuvering and stuff like that. It's hard for us to be able to catch up to them in a manner enough to efficiently catch them and catch up to them without them noticing that we are there following or something like that. So we're trying to utilize a little bit more strategy. If we can, we'll just try and let other deputies that are in the area or other law enforcement that are down the road in the direction they're traveling know. So that way we can kind of pick them up as they are. And in that, we're requesting our helicopter a lot of times to see if they can fly over, get eyes on them, and then hopefully we can have a little bit more of an effort. Those violations and stuff like that take more time, a lot more resources. And so those traffic stops or that enforcement is happening way down the road, or even at a later date and time, as we are doing research to find out who those operators are, and then administratively opening up citations and stuff and sending it to them.
Okay, I appreciate you answering that question. Do we have any other questions or comments for the corporal? No? All right, thank you so much. All right, now we're on to the monthly code enforcement report.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. I'm Deputy Trump with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. We actually had a pretty good month for code enforcement, with violations actually being down. We did have a few new cases of, unpermitted remodels, which all of the cases have been able to work with the people, work with the contractors, however, and we've been able to close all of them, with most of them obtaining permits. Other than that, we had, I just had 33 entries, but basically it's a variation of all kinds of different ordinances, anything from, we're still working with a couple of pools to maybe some overgrowth in plants and things like that. But for the most part, the homeowners and everything have been pretty receptive as far as me going up and talking to them, we're working with them and trying to go through the problems. With that, I would like to just add one thing, if I could, to anybody that is watching, the citizens of Bel Air Beach, is if you are contracting for some type of a service, please make sure that they are licensed contractors, and make sure that you have some type of a contract or written contracts that you know exactly what you're getting into and what your responsibilities would be. And I'm just going to use one example without names or anything else, but I came across a residence that was just beginning a solar install, and I checked the contractors out and found that they had no permits through the city, no permits through the county. The company had not even been registered through the county or the state. We found out later they had a parent company which begins in California, and they were registered with the state, but basically there were no permits. I had made contact with the elderly lady that lives there by herself. She had been approached by this solar company, and they gave her some extravagant story that she would not have to pay for any of this, and it was all going to be installed for free, and she had no contract, nothing written. She had only one phone number in California for somebody that she could attempt to call, and excuse me, working with her and also working with Pinellas County, it was found that basically they had no permits or anything else, no contracts, and with the information that she was able to give us and working with her, she ended up basically telling the company that she no longer wanted her service or their services, which was probably a wise and prudent thing. So just a reminder to everybody is make sure you have contracts, make sure you know what you're responsible for, and make sure they're licensed contractors. So, you know, they are doing a good job for you.
I'm curious, would this be the same company that had the door-to-door solicitors?
It may be possible, but I didn't get that far into
I'd
it.
have to check the record on that. Doesn't ring a bell.
Just curious.
There was a solar company that was doing door-to-door.
Okay. Any questions or comments for the deputy? Yes, Mr.
I
Van.
want to jump on the mayor's bandwagon on the solicitation because we seem to be getting a lot of like magazine people. I don't know your hours, I don't want to know your hours, especially when I don't know your hours, but it seems like they're early, late afternoon. Spots they have usually a clipboard. I see them, they come to my door, I tell them.
And what I can add to that is at any point, if anybody has any solicitors or anything else, or suspicious people for that matter, if you don't know who they are, contact the sheriff's office, let us go and make contact with these guys, and we will take care of business. So, with no problem. That's what we're here for, and you know, going back on that as far as my hours vary a little bit, and I'm going to, especially as we're going into the warmer months here and going into spring break, I'm going to start varying my hours a little bit more. Because we're going to be trying to do, or I'm going to be trying to do at least a little more beach patrols and everything else for the ordinance, or the ordinances out on the beach and everything else. So I vary a little bit just so I can do different things and work Sundays once in a while so that we can, like I had one day, you know, contractors out working on a house on a Sunday, and it's made contact with them, they're very nice, but we told them, you know, can't do that, so.
I don't want to know your hours.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? No? I will add that I had some solicitors come by my house the other day, and so I actually bought some of their product as evidence. But the box of cookies did not last the rest of the evening, so never mind.
Well, the evidence is gone then.
Thank you very much, David.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right, now we're on to item 6. This is the city attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we sit here now, it is March 4th, 2024. We are in what should be the last week of session, absent some extension. I don't have some inside knowledge of one. You never know what may happen. There's a lot to track and not a lot to report right now. There's some clear division on some significant bills between what the Senate is doing and what the House is doing. While not of the same import here, by way of example, the short-term rental bill has passed the Senate, it's passed the House, but in different versions. They need the same version to pass both chambers before the governor can sign it, and there's only 4 days left for them to do so. One of the challenges we face in tracking and accurately predicting what will happen in the legislative session is during the last 3 days of session, each of the chambers are able to suspend certain rules and make things happen a little more quickly or by some, not altogether unpredictable, but unorthodox means. And so until it's over, until that handkerchief falls for sine die on Friday, it is hard to say precisely how this will shake out. This will not be like last session, where there was just a ton of legislation approved by the supermajority and signed by the governor. I think each chamber, as well as the executive branch, are asserting a little bit more of their independent judgment, which we didn't see quite as much of last session, as evidenced by the governor's veto in the last week on the social media bill. So we are tracking it closely. We'll get an end of session report from my office in terms of what's come down, and as well as any Florida League of Cities updates you may be tracking that provide legislative updates. Otherwise, we continue to, as you know from our meeting last week, we've begun the Land Development Code review, and your input is critical to that, subject to all the cautions and advisories I gave you at that meeting. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and otherwise look forward to what should be an interesting month in March with our elections here. I will be closely tracking the results and also how all of those play out in the event any one or all of them don't succeed, or if they all succeed for that matter, what that means for us in providing you an update post-election day on, okay, now what? So that's the issue I'm probably following most closely for this committee.
Any questions or comments for the city attorney, Mr. Bailey?
The short-term rental bill.
Yes, sir.
I know there's only 4 days left, and there's a division of the bills aren't matching up, but would that, either version, would that impact us, Bel Air Beach? Because I'm getting a lot of residents, no one knows how to read these things, I think, because we're...
And I think that's a really accurate way of saying this. No one knows how to read these, including the legislators. The short answer is yes and no. The no of it is it doesn't change your rules. Yes, because it applies statewide. If you were to do something to change your regulations,
My question.
if you rock the boat, don't get wet.
As long as we don't run-
But if we don't rock the boat in their current form, and of course they can change this in the next 4 days, in their current form, they preserve the language in codes for any restriction adopted before June 2011. Your land development codes governing duration and frequency predate 2011 here. You should, bold and underlined, should be fine. However, when you look at the Senate bill, for example, it has language in there that says, notwithstanding the preemption in 509.032.7a. Well, none of the courts have found that 7a, which talks about that lodging and restaurants regulation is preempted to the state. No court has ever found that that is a preemption of a city's regulation of short-term rentals. And by just adding a notwithstanding this, it suggests they're trying to broaden and say, oh, always meant this. Everybody knew that. So I can't say for sure, and I think there's good reason when you see some of that confusion. On its plain terms, it does not void or strike the safe harbor for pre-2011
That's
stuff.
my question.
On its face, it does not do that. Will they attempt to say it does otherwise somehow? Who knows?
Either version, you're saying.
Either version does not. So for this community, that's why I said at the outset it's of less concern here. I still think it's a concern because it's a new preemption, and every preemption should trouble us as communities that thrive on home rule. And again, to the extent I sound like I'm equivocating, it's only because they're adding some language that I think is sort of changing the script and saying it was always this way. So that's just clarifying a thing you could never do. But I don't think it will void your pre-2011 restrictions in either current form. Again, and by the way, when I say they're not the same, the differences are significant. It's not simply like one of them has a 60-day registration, the other has a 90-day. The Senate bill, for example, allows you to regulate or have a registration based with an occupancy limitation based on 2 per bedroom plus 2 with some additional permission for certain square footage. The House version, up until recently, said sleeping accommodations. They're suggesting that that's going to be interpreted based on the fire code. Well, the fire code was never intended for overnight stays. It's intended for how many people can safely evacuate a space during an event. So if you have a birthday party, how many people can safely get out? Not many people can sleep here, generate waste here, and all those other things. So those are some differences. The House bill, for example, also has language saying that the registration process, to the extent communities can create a registration process, will be administered by the tax collector. That's never been a part of the discourse before this year. So, and it's not in the Senate version. So if they're going to work it out, they have some real differences to resolve. And the House sponsor, Representative Griffiths, as recently as last week in the press, was saying the House will not be taking up the Senate's version. So it sounds like there's a little bit of a game of chicken, legislative chicken happening on who's going to blink.
It just seems every legislative session, for as long as I can remember, something comes up. It's ugly headed in the rentals.
Yeah, and that's frankly the thing that's easy to focus on. There's a lot more preemptions that we haven't been talking about, and once we know the lay of the land, we'll talk about. There was a bill that I think is going to be unsuccessful that dealt with when you could hire and fire a city manager, a city attorney. I don't know what purpose that serves the state, but those are the sorts of things that it's more than you realize and more than your average citizen might take interest in, but definitely affects your job up here, whether you're 4, 5, or 7 of you.
Any other questions or comments? Well, Mr. Moore, I did have one question. I heard rumblings of a possible bill that would, or maybe it was an amendment, that would exempt those currently serving from Form 6. Has that gained any traction at all?
If it has, Mayor, I'm not aware of it. I'll search for it. I imagine if it had gained traction, it would be closer to front page media, given the dozens of resignations across the state. But I will continue, I'll look into that, and if I find something, I'll circulate it. I would take silence as a no in terms of my follow-up.
And I want to say it was early last week I got this, and I wasn't able to move on. I didn't think it was going anywhere, but still, I'll pass it off to you, the information.
I appreciate that. It is a challenge when you're tracking the legislative session because something like that can get buried in a bill that has little else to do with Form 6. It's just an ethics code, and they throw this rider in. So if you do have any resources, and that goes for all four of you, if there is something that you, while I generally work for the council as a whole, if there's a discrete thing you say, hey, I heard this, is this true about the session, or here's somebody's telling me House Bill 8675309 does this, is that true? I'm happy to look into it if it's related to city business.
I just assumed it was going nowhere because
I think it's a safe assumption.
as big of a deal as it is, it's not being talked about. All right, any other questions or comments? Not? All right, thank you, Mr. Moore. I appreciate all the updates. All right, now we're on to item number 7. Mr. Reefer, City Manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Levitt stepped out, but addressing the no parking on the street signs, I do know it was 2018 when we downsized those signs, but I will check into the requirements. I tried to do a quick search, couldn't find about, get some guidance from the county on what size they actually need to be for our residential streets. I wanted to mention to him, I wasn't sure if he was aware that we have the on-street parking. The residents can call them and let us know that they're having a party. And then, we send it to the sheriff's office and then they're aware so that nobody gets ticketed. Going through the city manager report, the Gulf Boulevard undergrounding, we're still moving along with that. We're going out on the north side, we're getting refusal signatures if Duke Energy is requesting that we have our easement for the resident where the equipment's going, so that is what the utility contractors in Florida are doing right now. They're just getting a hold of people and either getting a signature yes or no if they can get an easement for that property. Again, south side, south of Causeway, we're pending on Duke at this point, so we're waiting on that. I will say though that we have received all of our funding from Penny 4 up to this fiscal year from the county, so we're all up to date on that. We paid and received the reimbursement. The stormwater improvement project, the start date for that is going to be March 18th. Excited to get that going. The code review project, we are going to cover Chapter 94 zoning at our next work session. And that was chosen because it's a very broad section and it kind of dabbles in a lot of different elements of the code. And I think discussing that up front will help us as we go through other sections. The RFP for auditing services, last year, Salt Marsh came in the March meeting with the draft. They do not have the draft complete, but it's supposed to be done this month. But the way we're going to do it is we're going to get the draft, take it to the audit committee, have them look it over, make any recommendations, and then we'll bring it to council where Salt Marsh will do their presentation for the acceptance. The new website launched last Thursday. I sent an email out just to let you know. We're still kind of working through some of the kinks, making sure all our content got transferred over. We are excited to have the new format. It's based on the Civic Plus layout that a lot of cities, City of Dunedin, Town of Bel Air use. But hopefully what this does is we can set it up in a way that our citizens can find information quickly that they're looking for. But any suggestions you have when you preview that site, please just forward on me and we'll make adjustments.
I think the new website looks great. It's probably easier for someone who's never been there because I knew where to go for everything prior to the new website. So it took me a while to find the code and things like that. Nice job.
And, well, we got an idea from what other cities have done. We want to open up a photo submission for the residents that we can use on the website. So modern phones take such good pictures these days. That's the way to kind of capture all the different images of the city, get some good sunsets and beach pictures. We've been interviewing for the admin assistant. We've had so far out of 5 interviews we set up, we have 2 candidates that we're considering. When it came to the question, and we kind of saw this coming, for the hourly wage, we were advertising at the $18 per hour. The candidates that we have considering the position suggested that they would start at $20 per hour. Now, the $18 per hour was our lowest paid wage, but we raised the service worker 2 wage last meeting that went from 18 to 20. So right now, with the vacancy that we've had in the admin assistant position, we have the money. We don't need to make a budget adjustment to make that $2 increase, but I wanted to get the council's consideration on that because it would have to pass in the next budget to maintain this position. We need a motion?
No, we can just do an informal vote because it's not a budget change this year.
Yeah, just like
That's everyone's thoughts.
I think we have to recognize the current marketplace, and that's what it's demanding. And I find that if you try to go too low, you end up spending more money because you get ineffective. So the right candidate, yes.
That $2 an hour might actually keep them around, whereas 18 might get them trained and then they go to another municipality. So I think it's a good idea.
I do as well. So the candidates that you've already interviewed, Kyle,
Yes.
had they been amenable to whatever our rate was at that time, would you guys been in a position where you would maybe offer to one of them based on their skill sets and background and ability to do the job?
So the 2 candidates that we interviewed that filled out the city application did not indicate the wage that they were considering for the position. So it came up in the interview. We had to advertise on the website at the $18 per hour, but that's the only spot. So if they saw the admin assistant posted on the sign, they might have thought maybe it was negotiable. But just by the candidates that we have, our best candidates, 18 was a little low to start.
Okay. So if we raise it to 20, which I think we're all fine with, do you feel comfortable that you have a candidate in mind that would be willing to accept that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not clear on that. So did you have a candidate you might have preferred who had it out because it wasn't at 20?
No, the only 2 candidates that we interviewed that we feel are qualified, both of them have indicated that they would like to start at $20 per hour. We have 1 candidate in mind that we would select, but I just wanted to get the council's approval because it is a budget.
Thanks for that.
Something we're going to continue to budget for.
Any other questions for the city manager?
I do. So Kyle, on the stormwater improvements projects, has the contractor had the opportunity to sit down with the city and lay out a plan with respect to what streets they're going to begin and so on until the project is complete?
We have not had our pre-construction meeting on site, but they have been agreeable to whatever we need. So given that Mr. Flutie's doing the study right now for the 9th Street area, if that is complete and we have the presentation and we know what we're doing, I would consider that the southern part of the town the more crucial to get to before storm season. So as long as we're ready and we know what we're doing, I would recommend that we start on the southern end.
Okay.
but right now there is no set schedule.
Okay, and I completely
Nor
trust
budget,
you.
right?
I say,
Nor budget. Well, I mean for.
Right, we need to find out what, Mr. Floyd needs to come back and let us know where we're at on that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr.
No,
Flowers.
no,
Please
it's fine,
continue.
it's fine. I just want to make sure, and I have complete confidence in you and your staff, when the project starts, when we get in questions where somebody would say, would you whiz, why was this street done before that street? That we're prepared to have, and I know you will have, you'll have an answer for why, whether it was based on the current condition of street A, B, or C, was worse off based on the studies that we did, that type of thing. So that there's some semblance of reasonability there as to why we did street A before street B and so on down the road. So we'll be prepared for that.
And then when we have discussed with the contractor, grouping 4 to 5 streets together. So I think they'll be looking into us to give insight where we're starting, because we've already kind of had conversations on, where, depending on what we're doing on 9th Street. So,
Does that make sense? We don't want the contractor jumping back and forth from the north side to the
No.
south side, et cetera, so that's all good, thank you.
and they will be doing the door hangers well before and interacting directly with residents for information, when they come through on those streets. So they'll be knocking on the doors. If the resident answers, explaining to them what the project timeline is for that area. And then if they're not there, then they're going to leave contact information so that they can get the information that they want. And we'll be working, as far as where the parking on one side and getting access to their driveways and all that.
Great, thanks.
Anyone else? Yes.
When is Mr. Flutie report?
His timeline was 1 to 2 months. I can follow up on and find where he's at.
I think it'd be good if we had it before the next working session.
That'd be pushing. The next working session is 3 weeks, 2 weeks.
Well, Mayor, I think we may be speaking to that, but we're trying to figure out the timing on the next working session, given the election and other scheduling concerns for members.
True. I'd say whenever he's got the report, we should just get it immediately. That way we can look at it on our own time, not have to wait on a presentation from him.
Okay.
Was that your own question? Okay. I had a question also. We spoke briefly this morning about the bridge closures. Did you get any detail on that?
Right now, I heard back from Brian Mallory with the county. He said that he does not know of any closure schedule, but that he would check into it because they update it on a weekly basis and then let me know.
What is the work that they're doing on the bridge?
That I don't know. I'll find that out.
They're putting signs on the bridge.
Can somebody explain to me why we're closing the bridge during the busiest season?
The sign says lane closures, and I think it's at night, not during the
What
day.
is during that night? But I mean, is it 10 o'clock at night or 6 in the morning?
I think that bridge is wide enough for 3 lanes in the middle, so they're probably going to have you go around whatever jams together, but it definitely is raising concerns in the community because everyone's wondering if they're going to have to go down Indian Rocks Beach to get to Publix.
So right now, no. But if there is any concern with the way they are doing it, just let me know.
If you do hear anything definitive, would you mind sending out a newsletter just to let everyone in the city know?
Sure. I just want to mention real quick, the hurricane information night we're going to be doing is on April 3rd, which is a Wednesday. And that's going to involve the Pinellas Coast Fire Department, the city, the Pinellas County Emergency Management. We'll have experts in the field of meteorology. Mike Clay's already committed, and insurance agents to give updates on the current state of insurance in Florida, and trying to get a FEMA representative there. But yeah, 6:30 to about 8:30. And the idea is that we're going to have tables set up for information for these different organizations, but also have a general lecture area for audience seating where, every 30 minutes is a presentation.
Is that it?
That is it.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Riefler. Now we are on to the city clerk report. Renee?
I have nothing further to report.
Okay, any questions or comments for the city clerk? No? Thank you very much. All right, now we are on to the consent agenda. This is items 9 and 10. This is for approval of the February 5th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes and approval of the February 27th, 2024 City Council work session minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve is written and presented.
Motion made by Frank Banker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Roberts. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda passes. All right, now we are on to the regular agenda, item 11. This is for consideration of ordinance 24-01. This is the second reading. City Attorney Mora.
Happily, Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, City Council, Division 1, generally, to create Section 2-31 of the city's Code of Ordinances entitled Annual Salary for Members of the City Council and Guidelines Governing Reimbursement, providing for the implementation of administrative actions, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. This has been a second and final reading of ordinance number 2024-01 by title only, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Before we proceed, would any citizen like to comment on this proposed ordinance? Seeing as we have none, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion to approve ordinance 24-01.
So moved.
Motion made by Lloyd Roberts. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Elliott. Mr. Roberts, you have the floor.
Yeah, we've discussed this, and we've discussed the benefits as to why we think this would improve our city interest for people wanting to be on the council. Is the main driver, I believe. It's a minimus amount of money compared to other cities in the area, and I think our mayor did a good job of providing us with that information, showing what some of the other cities were paying their council members or commission members. So, based on those facts, I think it makes sense for us to do this, and I think we should put it to a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Would anyone else like to comment on this topic? All right, I would just like to add that if this passes, it does not impact this council, but it does give future councils the ability to at least give something back to people who serve. Also, I believe that this goes hand in hand with items that are appearing on the ballot in the upcoming election. So, if there are no other comments, Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes?
Councilmember Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Gaddis.
Yes, and so it passes unanimously, 4-0. Thank you very much, council, for assisting in this ordinance. All right, now we are on to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Seeing as we have none, unfinished business is now over with. Now we're on to item number 13. There was no 12, there was no, let's see, there was no 12 or 13, I just added one. So now we're on to city council comments. This month we begin with Councilmember Banker.
Just briefly, I've been working with Senator Scott's office, still with his NFIP suit, which is going back to Ashley Mooney now, because she's the attorney for the state. But I appreciate council and my co-council person, Kim, with this study that's coming up with the flooding, because there's so many residents in the southern end of the city. Yeah, right here, it's just, like, pulling their hair out, frustrated over the 50% rule. The values of homes are not, I don't believe that will be given. It's really, they're telling us all the Terry's homes down here. So I'm going to keep working at it. That's all I can promise you. I feel your pain. It could happen to me. It could happen to anybody here. So I'll be out tomorrow at your house.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Up next is Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. As most of us know, we have some items that are going to be on up for vote coming up on the 19th. So anybody listening to this meeting, I would like to recommend that you take the time to read those items and understand them. And if there's some questions you may have, please make every opportunity you can to contact anybody up here on the council. I'm going to be making my rounds around the city, knocking on doors, asking anybody if you have any questions, if there's any way that I can help clarify some of the information we're going to be voting for. I will absolutely do that. It's an important set of changes that we're proposing to the city charter, and I think it's something that everybody should consider very closely. I believe all 4 of the items would help our city, and I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody out there from a citizen standpoint to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Up next, Councilmember Baker.
Thank you. I feel very privileged to be here. Still all the fact that we have such a holy budget.
Is your microphone?
It is. Sorry about that, it's been a while. I feel very privileged to live here in Bel Air Beach and enjoy our lifestyle very, very much. Because we live in a coastal community, I'm very acutely interested in environmental issues. And so with that, I'll be obviously looking very closely at our stormwater improvement project, and I am attending a meeting Wednesday to hear a report from St. Petersburg regarding their own stormwater improvement project that's underway. So I'd like to hear about their plans and anything else that I can bring back to this group. With that, I attended the beginning launch of the Pinellas Beautiful effort for their litter abatement, and so I did that last week. And I'm getting involved also with the Sierra Club, and we'll be learning more about some of the environmental issues that they're involved in. Sorry, I'm losing my voice right now. So, and to follow up on what you said, Mr. Bankert, oh yes, thank you very much. The 50% rule, just so that people are aware, I did hear of another house that is likely coming up for sale because the individuals are just constrained by that rule, and with the increasing risk of flooding, they're just finished, and so we'll be losing another 7 neighbors sometime soon. So it's an important issue, and I thank you for raising it.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Elliott, since we're talking about the 50% rule, I know that if we do move forward and reduce it to 1 year, it won't solve all the problems. But what it will do is give a more manageable timeline. If you do something on your house and with a little bit of patience and planning, perhaps some of these homes will be able to get the upgrades that they'd like to have. 5 years is a long time, especially in an area where we're subject to salt water, things break. If you're in one of the lower lying areas, seem to be reaping all the benefits without all the time. It only seemed fair that we should look into that. And I know that City Manager Reefer is looking deeper into this to make sure that we're doing the right thing. But right now, it looks like switching to 1 year is the right thing to do. And so stay tuned. Hopefully we'll get this cleaned up a little bit more where it's not quite the pill to swallow. All right, as always, I'd like to thank everyone who was here tonight or watched this meeting remotely. As a resident of Bel Air Beach, I'd like to also remind everyone, I'll pile on what you just said, of how important this upcoming election is to our city. 4 charter amendments on the ballot address the recent intrusive legislation designed to keep good candidates out of local government. I and countless others believe that local government is best run by the people who live within its boundaries. Tallahassee preemptions and overregulation tear away at the thread of our unique, friendly, and beautiful community. As residents of Bel Air Beach, it is up to us to demonstrate that only we know what's best for our community. These amendments will reduce the number of council members and send a clear message to Tallahassee that we are a strong community willing to adapt to protect our island way of life. On March the 19th, please join me in voting yes for amendments 1 through 4. With that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion is made by Frank Banker and seconded by Kim Shaw Elliott. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, good night.